This is a Granadillo fretboard from LMI. It is a second grade fretboard, and basically what second grade means is mostly cosmetic. If you look at the board, if I flip it over, you'll see we've got some sapwood, that kind of thing going on here. But also the grain is not as straight, and it's probably got some runoff or run out. It's not a perfectly quarter sawn piece of wood. Matter of fact, if I look at it though, I can see that if I can get it, the ends are waxed, but if you look at that close, you'll see the grain runs pretty much straight up and down here, but when you flip it over, you can see that the grain runs a little bit not straight. And so what I'm doing right now, I want to lay out my fretboard slot, my fret slots on this board, and I want to pick the side that I think aesthetically looks the best, and that would be this side. I could use this side when I cut the fretboard out of it. This stuff will go away, but this side to me looks better overall. It's more even, it's a bit darker. So what I need to do now is I need to square off an end. And what I'm going to do, I'll take that off, is I'm going to square this in, because I know that, well actually, I'm going to square this end, because I know that the grain is more vertical here, and it goes off of vertical as the further we go down. So I'm going to have about 18 inches of fretboard, so it'll cut off right about here, and so the majority of the fretboard will have more of a more vertical grain. So what I need to do, I need to square this off, and the way I'm going to do it, so I'm going to use my square. I'm going to mark me a line. And then just to give my saw something to follow, I'm going to do one of those numbers. I'm going to take my combination square, the end of my combination square. I'm going to use that to help me cut a square section. Now, okay. Getting there. Back to my clamps. And my saw keeps grabbing for all right. Now let's check the square. Well, I switched sides, I'm going to use the side with this little bit of sapwood here, because that will disappear. And I actually, after looking at it a bit more, even though this side is a little bit lighter, I like the grain pattern in it a bit more. So what we're going to do, I have my scale here. Excuse me a minute. I have my fret distances from the nut here on a piece of paper. Let me tighten this up, sharpen this up a bit. And what I'm going to do, the first fret, I measure from the face of the nut to the center of the fret for every fret. You could go fret to fret, but if you do fret to fret, any kind of slight variances will compound, and by the end of the fretboard, you could be 1/4 of an inch off. If you measure from the face of the nut to the center of the fret, you might be off on 1 or 2 frets, just a tiny little 100,000th of an inch or something like that, but it won't make that much of a difference, unlike if you do fret to fret. So the first fret is 1.425 inches from the nut. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go here, and I don't know if you can see that, but I marked 1 inch there. And we're going to take our calipers and go with point. .425, if I can get it. And that would be right about there. What I'm going to do is I'm going to take that measurement again. Perfect. Always double check measurements, particularly fret scale measurements. I'm going to make that mark. Second fret is 2 inches. .770. Now I could go and take 2.770 from this caliper, but I have found that if you have to bounce back and forth on the measurements like I do, I don't get exactly on it all the time, that I can be way off by the time the calipers do some kind of weird thing and end up being off. So what I do is I try to sneak up on that small, that .770. That's it. Lock it down. Center it. Mark it. Now, gonna go back down. Beautiful. And I will just continue this on down the fretboard. When we reach the 22nd fret, I'll be back. Alright, got my fret positions laid out, and I've taken a knife and scribed a line. And what I'm going to do now is cut them. And the fretboard is around 0.250 or 1/4 of an inch. And I've got the depth on my fret saw set for 0.125 or half of that, 1/8 of an inch. So here it is. I might have to deepen them, but I do not think so. Most fret wires 40 thousandths, 60 thousandths, something like that. Tang wise depth, I think I'll be good.